24 of our Soul Care Wednesdays. We started off 24 weeks ago, and today I'm back in my car. As I said, the weather is getting better, and as a result of that, I don't see why I should do this from my house. I can actually do it from my car. Today's episode will be very quick and to the point. And if you're new here, good to have you. Welcome aboard. My name is Claire. I have the privilege of being the founder of this channel. I'm a nutritionist and I love everything about wellness and healthy living. Hence the reason why I do different things. And these last couple of weeks, we have been looking at the soul care. As I said, you may look after everything else, and if you're not looking after your soul, and one of the things that motivates us in this channel is 3 John 2:1 that says, "Beloved, I pray above everything else that you will prosper and be in good health even as your souls prosper." And so you can look after yourself and you can do self-care, but if you don't look after your soul, you can end up with so many different issues. And that's the reason why we have been looking at soul care episodes. In today's episode, we'll be looking at a very simple thing, and that's the little tiny habits and the power of making small shifts in life. I've been reading the book. I don't know why I haven't read the book so far until now, The Atomic Habits. And this guy has really been challenging me. He says somewhere in the book, if you made just 1% amendments or adjustments to your life and decided to do something positive, 1% every single day, at the end of the year, you'll have compounded to about 37% improvement. Whereas if you did something 1% negative every single day, at the end of the year, you'll have been in zero and even potentially in negative. And he talks about just basically compounding effect, one by one, the little things that you do, the small shifts, the small actions that can actually result into massive differences in the end. And I was thinking of the beginning of this year, my bank invited me to do a 1p saving challenge. And I was talking to my son who loves math, and we did some mathematics and calculations with him. And he said to me, "Mommy, if you save a penny a day, you will end up with only £3.65 at the end of the year, sorry." And I was asking him, "Why do you mean? Why has the bank invited me to do a 1p saving challenge, whereas you're saying to me at the end of the day, I will only have saved £3?" He said, "That's the truth if you calculate. However, the bank has actually done something called compounding, and I can see some of you live with me. Great to have you live with me. And the bank has been does something called compounding, and from that compounding, you can actually end up with 600 plus pounds in a year from saving a penny a day." And so I've been doing this. I told myself, I'm going to try anyways. Just a penny is not a lot of money. And so far, in less than 2 months, I actually have cumulative interest of about £20 on my account. And it shows you the power of small shifts, the power of tiny habits that you start off little by little, one by one, simple 1% changes, 1% shifts that can actually result in massive, significant differences. I usually talk about the time when I had such a significant amount of weight after I had my little boy. And I was talking to my sister and I told her about my weight, and she told me, I was like, "I'm ready to go for a run." And she said to me, "With this weight you're carrying on you, you can't go for a run. You're going to injure yourself. Rather than going for a run, start going out for a walk. One by one, a few steps every single day. If you compound it over time, you start to see a shift in your weight. And once you start seeing a shift in your weight, you can start to go out for running, because you need that weight that will be able to sustain you in your running errands." And it's been now 7 years down the line. I started running in 2018. I still run, though not as much as I would love to. But at the end of the day, I still do it, and I enjoy doing it because it was the starting one step at a time, a few steps rather than doing a whole load of differences and changing and wanting to shift significantly over time. Can I suggest to us that some of the reasons why we fail when we start off with new habits is that we want to do it all in one day, right? We want, for example, to wake up one day and do 10,000 steps in a day, and then it gets to tomorrow, your body is complaining and is saying, hey Claire, why did you put us in this hell the whole day? And then you realize because you're aching, you'll say, oh well, let me leave it today, I'll come back to it again tomorrow. And in Africa we have a saying, tomorrow never comes. So tomorrow will be tomorrow, and tomorrow and tomorrow, and tomorrow will never come. But if you decide today and say, Claire, we will go out just for 500 maybe steps, and then tomorrow we bring it to 10, 100, 1000, sorry, my mouth is gone, and then build on it slowly by slowly, I can almost guarantee you it's gonna become much better than wanting to do everything together in a go. Another example of myself is last year, I used to wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I love waking up at 5:30. And sometimes I wouldn't even need an alarm. When it gets to around 5:15, the sleep just disappears. And I got to a point and I was saying to myself, Claire, why can't you just do 10 minutes shift rather than waking up at 5:30, wake up at 5:20. And I can tell you, it was a struggle initially because I wake up and I snooze my alarm. But then when I started waking up, 10 minutes difference made a whole difference to me. That meant I could be able to go for a run or go to the gym, come back home, get my son ready for school, make breakfast for my family, get myself into work on time because of 10 minutes difference, right? If you decide today and say, rather than eating, let's say, crisp every single day, maybe you're eating 10 packets of crisp. That's exaggerated. Nobody does that. I believe none of my viewers does that, right? And then you decide, rather than stopping all of a sudden, your body will go into withdrawal mode. Your body will start to kick tantrums. And I can see some of you guys, hi guys, as I said, good to have you live with me. Your body will start to kick tantrums and you won't stick on it with it for a long time. But rather than doing those really massive changes, which can be really good, and there's a place of that in life, you decide and say, guys, I'm going to just do, maybe eat only 4 rather than 10. Or if you have, let's say, 3 spoons of sugar in your tea every morning, you decide and say, I'll have 3.5. Do you know you can easily start to reduce your sugar consumption rather than if you say, I have done that. I went cold turkey and I can tell you it was a fight. I can see you. How are you doing today? I'm doing well. Thank you. Hello, Fad King. I can see you. I can see your messages. Thank you so much to have you. I'm glad to have you tonight. It's a privilege to have you tonight on this conversation. So back onto what I was saying, right? If you, for example, again, decide and say, I teach a lot of food technology. Hello, Genra Smith 006. Hopefully I got that right. I teach food technology, right? And when we talk about things like sugar reduction or salt reduction or fat reduction, if an industry today, let's say bread making industry, decided just to reduce the amount of salt that they use, and hopefully you know why they add salt in bread, it is actually for taste, but also it does kind of in a way help to preserve also, and does as well help to stop the impact of yeast so that your bread doesn't continue rising forever, right? If they can actually decide and say, today we will reduce your salt by 30%, hey, people will be complaining. You'll be up and I'm saying, hi, you can't do that because you'll test the difference. But how do they usually do it? They'll do gradual reduction. Sometimes it's 0.1 difference that makes a whole difference. So today I want to challenge you. Thank you so much. Did pretty well. Thank you. I want to challenge you. Instead of trying to do humongous amount of shifts in your habits, it could be maybe you want to go exercising, right? Rather than deciding to say, I will do 10,000 steps in a day, why not just start with 100 steps and then build it up slowly by slowly? I was reflecting earlier on my son when he was younger, and we were teaching my boy, teaching. He was teaching himself to walk. Do you know every time he will try to run because he's excited he can actually walk, he will fall over and he was scared, so discouraged and things like that. And then we got to a point, it was like, one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. And now he can run, he can play football, he can do so many things. And so that's why I'm encouraging you guys, rather than wanting it all in one go, why not just decide first of all and say, what do you want to change? What do you want to shift? What do you want to achieve? Which habit do you want to start on? For some of us, it might be healthy eating. For some of us, it might be exercise, right? And then once you have decided, then start slowly. The 1% change, 1% shifting, 1% difference, eventually it will compound. Like my 1 penny that has grown to over 20 pounds in 2 months because of the compounding effect. And I can't wait for the year to come to an end where I'll go to the bank and get myself 600 pounds from saving only a penny every single day. It will be the same thing if today I went out and walked every single day for just even half an hour. Do you know it's way much more better than if you go to the gym today and hit 5 hours in the gym, and then tomorrow your body will be screaming and saying you cannot do this again. And so I want to challenge you today. What is it that you want to achieve for this year? What are your health desires? What are your adventures in your life? What are the things that you can do? What are those simple shifts that you can make today? That could be just, maybe for some of us, as I mentioned, it could be sugar. That instead of going sugar-free, Kentucky or cold turkey all of a sudden, and you start having withdrawal syndrome, just deciding and saying, I will reduce half a spoon, well, I'll reduce 1 tablespoon, so that you're doing it gradually, that sometimes your body even won't notice it, right? I was listening to Mel Robbins. I've fallen in love with this woman. She's such a great audience to listen to. I was listening to her, I was listening to her earlier on, and she's talking about 5 things that you can actually do at the end of the day to give you an easier beginning of the day. And one of the things that she said, like, you need, because you're tired, you're exhausted, you can do things in 5 minutes that can actually change your whole trajectory of your next day. And she was saying, like, you can decide to clean up your house, your kitchen, quickly clean up the dishes, which will actually make your life much more easier, rather than if you wanted to do 10,000 things in a night. You'll be exhausted and you won't be effective on it all. Maybe if you want to do things, you have 10,000 or 10 lists of your to-do list. If you select only one thing out of your to-do list and do that one thing very well, you might end up being more productive than doing 101 things at the same time, where you become a jack of all trades and a master of none. So it can't be one thing. Just decide and think in your health, in your wealth, and in your finances. In your health, your wealth, which is finances and relationships. What do you want to shift? For some of us, it could be a relationship where you want to change how you interact with your spouse, your children, and things like that. And then tell yourself, I will just spend only 5 minutes at the end of my day with my son to build that relationship, right? If it is health, as I said, you can decide and say, I'll only do 5,000 steps every single day until I become better at it. Then I can build it up. If it is something to do with your wealth, you can join me and just decide and say, I will save a penny every single day, which will result in 600 pounds. If I get 600 pounds at the end of the year, I will go to Kenya. Come on, I will be headed home. I'll go home and that's going to pay my ticket. And then when I get home, or even if it doesn't pay my ticket, it will help me to have a great time. I can visit my friends and family back home in Kenya and have a good time being at home, right? So it's those small things, those compounding effects that I'm challenging us, saying, hey guys, let's not try to do it all. Well, there is a space of doing it all. There's a place of massive shifts, but also those tiny 1% shift. What is it today, the 1% that you will do to catapult yourself, to shift yourself into a better you? What is it, the 1%? For some of us, it could be just deciding to read 10 pages of a book. If you've never read before, 10 pages of a book is better than nothing, because eventually you'll have finished reading the book in an X amount of time, depending on how many pages you have, right? For some of us, it might be just deciding to overlook stuff that has been petty and making you uncomfortable over a period of time, right? So choose what is it that you want to do. Some of us, it might be sleep. We suffer from sleep problems, sleep deprivation, and you're thinking, how can I improve my sleep? And as I was listening to Mel Robbins, she's saying, actually, if you want to sleep 9 hours, go to bed. If you want that will allow you calculate 10 hours of your time in bed, which you'll end up sleeping for 9 hours, right? If you want to sleep 8 hours, you need to be in bed for 9 hours. If you want to sleep 6 hours, you need to be in bed for 7 hours. So it might be for some of us, we want a better sleep. And it might just be changing the timing that you come in, the timing that you spend on social media, etc., which is another day of discussion. But for now, it's just to challenge you to say, guys, we don't need sometimes massive shifts. It's the small habits that you constantly repeat over time that will bring massive shifts, rather than massive habits that you do once and then you forget about it. My son challenged me the other day and said, Mommy, you can do the same thing 1,000 times. You'll become much better and a master at it, rather than doing 1,000 things at the same time that you end up becoming basically not good at anything, literally. And you were saying you build those habits, you consistently repeat them, the 1% shifts, consistently doing them until they become second nature. I usually say repetition produces mastery, right? Repetition produces mastery. Repeat them, fake it until you make it. Repeat them over and over again until you become great at those things. It has been a joy and a delight meeting with some of you live today. Tone, Fadking, General Smith 006, and so many of you that joined that we may not have seen you, but you have been in the background supporting what we're doing. Greatly appreciate you. Really appreciate your time being with us tonight. If you haven't done so already, if you have done that already, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking. And if you haven't done that already, why not consider just clicking that like, share, or subscribe button? It will go a long way in supporting what you're doing. I pray that you know you're loved, celebrated, and appreciated. I pray you have a great evening. Until next time, this has been Claire with another episode of your Soul Care Wednesday. I will see you again next week, where we'll have actually gotten to episode 25. Until then, I pray that the Lord will richly bless you. Go change the world in on the way that only you can do. Decide on that one action that will propel you, catapult you into the right way of living, health, wealth, and relationships. And until next time, God bless you. May you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prosper. Know that you're loved, celebrated, and appreciated. It's been a great honor having you tonight. God bless. Have a great evening. Catch up again with you on the next episode. Goodbye and God bless.